Hi everyone, I'm back. I had a friend, James Kelly, who asked me to do another biscuit video, and so I'm going to do that today. And I'm waiting for the Florida State football game to get started on the television, so I'm going to run through this and show you guys how to make a biscuit, a good southern biscuit. And it's so simple to do, but you always want your biscuits to come out moist and not crumbly, but you want them to rise very high. And I've got the perfect recipe for doing that. First of all, you start with a good flour, and I use White Lily flour. We are not able to get this flour out here in Phoenix other than ordering it online. So that's what I do. I order it online. Now I'm using 2 cups of White Lily self-rising flour, and I'm putting it in my sifter here, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing if I turn the camera just a little bit, and I'll move it over here so you can see. So I just simply do that. And if you want it to sometimes it's good, I'll just tell you this, if you can add just a dash of salt to your flour there, it just, to me, it makes more of a savory biscuit. So just sift it out, and I'm using again 2 cups of just self-rising flour. And now you can use a lot of different things. You can use Crisco, you can use lard, you can use butter. You can actually use oil to make biscuits. I like to use Crisco. To me, it gets a much fluffier biscuit and everything. Now, typically, I just get my hands right in there and do it, but I'm just going to do it this way today. So, I'm getting about that much. I have no idea how much that is. And I'm just going to stick it right in there, just like that. That's really about all of the shortening that I need. And Brenda Gant says it's about the size of an egg, and I guess it probably would be. And then get you some buttermilk. Now, it is very difficult out here also to get whole fat buttermilk. If you can get whole fat buttermilk, get that. If you can't, then get the low fat buttermilk. And you can make whole fat buttermilk by taking a little bit of the low fat buttermilk, actually putting it into a jar, base of a jar, fill the rest of the jar up with whole milk, and then set it out for 24 hours on your counter. It'll turn that whole thing into some of the most gorgeous buttermilk you've ever seen. I did not do that this time though. So, anyway, I'm just going to, first of all, just wash my hands again. Even though I've already done it once, at least they're nice and wet now. And I'm going to, I like to do this method using my KitchenAid mixer. It makes it such simpler, but today also I do it by hand a lot and can judge the texture. You pour enough of this in here to make I usually cover my shortening in there. And when you first start squeezing, you want to squeeze your shortening into that buttermilk. Now, you can some people make a well in there and fill the well up with buttermilk. I just simply mix it all together. That's all I do. And as I start squeezing the shortening with the buttermilk in my hands, just between my fingers, I just squeeze it, squeeze it, squeeze it. And go around the bowl and try to incorporate flour as much as you can in there, squeezing it as you go. And I probably use maybe a half a cup of buttermilk just then, maybe a little bit more. And now I am just going to add just a little bit of buttermilk, maybe a tablespoon more, and What I'm looking for is a consistency in my mixture. This is going to be somewhat of a wet mixture, but I want to be able to squeeze it, and hopefully you can see this. I'm squeezing it right now, and it's coming through my fingers, and that is an excellent texture for a good Southern buttermilk biscuit. Now you're probably saying, this is too wet. Well, it'll dry up a little bit, and you'll see what I'm talking about in just a moment. So, after I get it all mixed together like that, I just simply get it off my fingers, get it back in here. And now you do need to roll this out. I prefer to do it. Some people will pinch it off and roll it that way. I don't do that. I just like the way the biscuits look when you roll them out a little bit or flatten them out. So, wash my hands again. That is one thing that happens when you're working with biscuit dough is you will wash your hands a lot, and that's fine. Now what I found to save a little mess on the countertop is I take my sifter and I put it into the lid right here, but also whenever I start, because I don't want flour all over my countertop, I use a cookie sheet. And in the cookie sheet I will then take some more of that flour and I will sift it right onto the cookie sheet like this. I still have quite a bit of flour in there. I can set that over into that particular thing. And now since I've got this spoon here, I'm just going to try to get all of this dough right onto that area right here of where I've got the flour. And so I've got pretty much all of it in there. And then I come with some more flour and sift it right on top. And I just start pressing. And I press down. I will flip or fold this a couple of times, but not too many. And I've had some people say, well, you got to do it a minimum of 8 times. No, I just do it until I'm comfortable with what the dough feels like. And so right now, each time that you fold it over, if you put a little flour in there, just take some of this flour and put it in there. You actually, before you fold it, this will guarantee you that you will have a flaky biscuit and one that has those layers in it that you really like. So I pressed it out again. I'm going to put just a little bit of this, maybe take it this way. Put a little bit of flour. And now this is the final time that I am actually going to fold it over. And then I just press it out with hand. I don't even use a rolling pin anymore. I just press it out till it's about a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch thick. And there we go. And then it's out there. I'm going to wash my hands again, even though they really don't need to be washed, but even so. Now, let me get out my biscuit cutter, which is right here. And right here, I have a cast iron skillet, which is what I usually bake them in. I've already sprayed it with some spray, pan coating, whatever. And I've also preheated my oven to 500 degrees, and as soon as it gets up there, I'll be ready with these biscuits. So I just simply, at this point, I will take my, and as you can tell, it's now ready, the oven is. So I just dip this into the flour, press, whoops, I slipped. Back into the flour. Back into the flour. And you notice I'm not twisting it. I'm just going straight down. people say you're not supposed to twist it. I'm just choosing not to today because frankly I do it most of the time. I twist it in there. But I'm trying to comply with the rules that everybody else puts on these things. Because I'm such a conformist. Anyway, here we got our biscuit. Just put it right on there. And make sure they're touching. And in 2 cups of flour now, I'm getting quite a few good biscuits. Now these are going to be known as cat head biscuits because they're so big. Now I could have cut them smaller, obviously, but I didn't want to. And I have some leftover dough to make one more biscuit in there, and that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 biscuits total. But I could have gotten more out of there had I cut them smaller and so forth. So just take this leftover dough and get your biscuit cutter, and I only need one, and I twisted that one. So anyway, it's in there just like that. And as you can see, it makes a nice little pan of biscuits. All right, the last thing I do is I actually do a little coating on top of the biscuit before I put them into the oven. And I just use oil. You can even use olive oil on this, but right now, the only cooking oil, you want to use a neutral oil. You don't want one that has too many odd flavors because that'll transfer over to your biscuit. But I did find that EVOO or oil that is extra virgin olive oil actually does have a very, it doesn't transfer the flavor to the biscuit. So anyway, I'm using peanut oil today, and just paint the tops of the biscuits with that oil. What it does is it helps to smooth the tops of the biscuits out a little bit, but it also helps the biscuits to brown appropriately and evenly. So you want to cover every biscuit with that, and I'm doing that now. And in the oven they go. They will cook in the oven for probably 15 to 20 minutes. I keep the light on in the oven so that I can see them bake because it's just as fun. And then I can just clean this up. And let's see here. Put my cup back in there. Put the lid back on. Slide it aside. Take my bowl. Put it in the sink. Now you can save this dough for later if you want. I don't. I just don't. So that will actually be thrown out. So please don't tell the world about it, but I'm not being wasteful in my mind. It's just I don't need it, so I'm not using it. So anyway, the nice thing about doing it this way, though, is that when you use it on cookie sheet, you just put it in there and you have a fairly clean work surface left over. So I'll come back after the biscuits are done and I'll show you what they look like. Okay, you guys are probably going to hear the game on in the background, but while I'm waiting for the biscuits to come out of the oven, I decided I might as well make the rest of my breakfast today. So I'm just going to fry me up some eggs. Some people, I just want to show you how to do an easy sunny side up on eggs. First of all, I I have an egg fryer or a skillet, and I've covered it with the spray canola oil, and I turned the temperature on high. And that just simply, this is so simple, but some people have a hard time with it. I just stick the egg right in there. And I like 3 eggs whenever I do it. Probably not healthy enough for me to do that, but still, I like it. Then, a little bit of salt on top of it, a little bit of pepper. And at that point, I put a lid over it. Now, the biscuits are just about done, so I'm going to take them out. By the way, Florida State's winning 7-0. So here we go with the biscuits that I just pulled out of the oven. The last thing I do is I melt some butter and I just coat the tops of them with that. Now, if you'll notice, if you can see it from there, I don't know, the eggs are starting to cook, and you'll see that they are fluffing up, you might say. The little bubbles are coming up around them. When it starts doing that, I go get just a tad bit of water and I just pour it. And let it go down beside it, because what it's going to do is you'll see it will make the perfect sunny side up egg. Meanwhile, while it's doing that, I'm going to butter the biscuits. These look incredible right now. Should have made them a little thicker maybe, I don't know, but it is what it is for a Saturday morning. My eggs are completely done. And I just take the lid off. And there are my eggs. And now I'm ready for breakfast. And I have my biscuits. I'm going to take 3 of them, so don't tell anybody that I've done that. There are no calories in these biscuits. I made them on a Saturday morning, so that's just the way it is. All right, I'll see you guys later. Go Seminoles. And Jimmy Kelly, also known as James Kelly, this video is for you.